Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 82 of Power Bombshells. I am Sam, and normally that is Mel, but Mel is doing some in real life things today. And so I have the amazing, wonderful Keila Cash joining me today, and I'm so excited that she's here.
I'm very happy to be here. Mel is very brave to have me in her spot. I cannot be Mel. I will never be Mel, but I will try my best here today to be the best guest co-host I can possibly be.
That's all we're asking for, and I think you will nail it. Yeah, as soon as she told me, she's like, "I'm gonna miss this date." I was like, and she's like, "So you're gonna need a co-host." I said, "I'm gonna ask Keela." I was like, "Let's ask Keela," and she was like, "Okay." So luckily, Keela was available, which I really appreciate, and always happy to have her on the show, and not and it doesn't have to be just a pre or post show. Can I have you on just a regular show?
I know, I love it. And see, this is the perfect time because we actually have indirect football beef as we speak because it's the Panthers versus the Falcons. I have no faith in my team, so go Panthers. So I'm already throwing in the towel.
Listen, I don't have much faith in my team either. So, I mean, I'm really excited for Bryce Young, and every time I get excited, I know what happens, and so I'm trying to temper my expectations. And even if I wanted to watch the game today, usually I will have it on in the background while we're live streaming. But DirecTV is still beefing with Nextstar, and so I haven't had Fox since the beginning of July, and I still don't have it. And their little suggestion that pops up now when you turn it on Fox is to either buy a digital antenna or to watch what I watch programming on like Hulu or ESPN Plus. And I'm like, no, I pay you. I'm not paying somebody else to watch this. So they're like, maybe they're protecting me. They're like, the Panthers and the Falcons are playing. Maybe you don't need to see this.
Oh my gosh.
So we'll see how today goes. But at least for me, at least I have the baseball. So I have the Braves to watch anyway. And then hopefully they won't let me down.
Fingers crossed. Rooting for the Braves. Mutual love for our team. So they lost to
Yes.
Pittsburgh last night. Don't do that again today. Please
Please
don't.
don't. Yeah, and now I'm hearing Spencer Strider has the same flu bug that Austin Riley had. So now they've pushed back his game to Wednesday. And so they might be bringing up Kyle Wright to start game 2 tomorrow, is what I'm hearing. So that could be interesting. But
Yeah.
and this has been other sports talk of Power Bombshells. We have to get some of that stuff out of the way. But we've got plenty of wrestling to talk about. Knock on wood, nothing too crazy this week. We got a bit of a break from somebody doing something and being crazy. However, we do have to talk about we won't spend a whole lot of time on CM Punk, but because you are the resident, well, one of the resident WWE people on the Fight Game Media Network, I do have to bring this up. And also, while I'm talking about the Fight Game Media Network, we do have a Patreon channel, which you can go to for patreon.com/Fight Game Media. And you can find all kinds of really amazing content. And I believe that is where you can find the wrap.
Yes, it is. Running every Monday morning for your listening pleasure. Me and Scott Young talking all things WWE to get you through your Monday commute. So it's a lot of fun talking about all things WWE and possibly somebody maybe coming back potentially.
Who knows at this point? It's instead of where in the world is Carmen San Diego, it's where in the world is CM Punk going to show up. And this is now that is the second time that Carmen San Diego has been referenced on the show in like the last 3 weeks. So shout out to Carmen San Diego. But yeah, so the reason we are going to bring up Mr. Punk is because there was a report that came out last week saying that when CM Punk, I guess, was serving his suspension, he potentially wanted to go to WWE. I guess this was back in December. He was thinking about wanting to go into the Royal Rumble and then potentially facing Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. It seems like talks never really got that far. They may have, sounds like WWE may have caught wind of it, but we don't know who in WWE caught wind of it. And clearly it didn't go anywhere because CM Punk was back in AEW for all of think like 3 months. And now he's already gone. So, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that we could see CM Punk in the Royal Rumble for 2024?
Ooh, that is a good question. It depends on how this firing took place regarding the non-compete. If there is one, if you can come back possibly by Survivor Series in Chicago, of all places, as well,
Oh,
that's another
right.
possibility. But I would never say never. I'm going to be very upfront in saying that I had a feeling that this could possibly happen dating back to last year's WrestleMania,
Mhm.
because regardless of what Punk has done in AEW, which is a lot of good stuff until things fell off the tracks last year at Brawl Out,
Right.
unfortunately, I do think him seeing that weekend at WrestleMania in Arlington, Texas, AT&T Stadium, and seeing Stone Cold Steve Austin in the main event of night one of WrestleMania.
Yes.
He could talk about the 4-for-1 special. He can read the WrestleManias night 1 through 4 all he wants. But seeing that man, someone you idolize, in that spot, getting that love, getting out of retirement for one night and getting the pop and the love and the respect, it does make you think, is it possible for me to have this for myself in the next 5 or so years? And I think that was in his head. I'll never forget how complimentary he was the entire weekend. Like, this is great for wrestling. I'm happy for Kevin Owens. I'm happy for Stone Cold. I'm happy for everybody. I'm like, really? So I think it opened the door in his head, like, okay, one day it's possible. And to even think about the Royal Rumble this year, and you're under contract and you're ready to violate every rule in your contract
He's ready
to
to
jump
risk it
ship.
all.
He was ready to risk it all, planning ahead, and the company's like, we listen, we're not tampering with your contract like that. And
Don't
and
get
then
me into trouble. Listen, you already got enough
no,
lawsuits, my guy.
listen, we are lawsuit up. We cannot have this on us too now. And then he tried it again. Let's not forget dropping by backstage in May,
Right.
apologizing to everyone. So I think he's been plotting for a while. And I have to actually give Vince credit. When he found out Punk was backstage, get him out.
Yeah.
Get-
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how, because like obviously, just in general, never say never, specifically in the wrestling business. There's only so many options for the stars as it is to go in these different places. And so, but I just thought, I mean, they fired this man on his wedding day. Like, I mean, I know time, I guess, can heal all wounds. Money sure can too. So I was like, I just never, like, I thought, I was like, this man's going to retire before going back to WWE. But now I hear this and I was like, all right, this man's going to get a big payday and then retire, apparently. And I was like, yeah. So, because originally when he was like apologizing, and people were like, man, he's setting stuff up. And I was like, well, maybe he, I was hoping maybe I was like, maybe he's like finally going to therapy and they're making him make amends and things like that. But apparently not. He's looking out for number one, and which I get, especially in the wrestling business, you got to look out for yourself. Even though WWE did kind of screw him over, but he also is a king of self sabotage. But do you think that it? So it. Let's say yes, it does happen. CM Punk enters Royal Rumble 2024. He wins. He gets the Mania shot. Do you think Kevin Owens would be open to wrestling him? First of all, let me preface before you answer. I know that Kevin Owens is like the epitome of professionalism, and he's gonna do what's asked of him. However, and I didn't think about it when it first came out that he wanted to wrestle Kevin Owens. I was like, oh, it makes sense. First of all, it's Kevin Owens, duh. Then Kevin Owens had the match with Austin. Then my sister was like, but Kevin Owens is best friends with the Young Bucks. So
Mm.
does that throw in? Does he do what he's asked of because it's his job, or does he like, I can't do that to my best friends, or maybe he does and shoots on him a little bit.
Ooh, listen, it's irresistible to actually drop some nuggets of where you left from. what happened, just a little bit, a little taste of it, because
Mm-hmm.
Kevin can go in on people when he
Yeah,
wants to, when he
we've
has the
seen it.
freedom to just smoke people. So for that alone, I think Kevin will do business because they're not here. They're not in the company. So therefore, like, he can text them, let them know, listen, this is business. They pay me a lot of money to do this. So I'm going to do this for myself. But I love y'all. But I'm going to have some shots in my promo to let you know I got y'all's back on
Right.
this. It'll be great television because it's the meta of it all,
Oh
of the
yeah.
behind the scenes of their actual
Mm-hmm.
friendship, and how Punk can kind of lean in that too without getting sued.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely. Gotta can't be making BTE skits apparently, and that he thinks the shots at him. But and it is so if Kevin, I don't know if haven't really thought about this much. I guess the only other if Kevin Owens is like, nah, you can't pay me enough. I'm not gonna I'm out. Or maybe they're just like, no, we're not giving you Kevin Owens. Is there anybody else? I mean, clearly Cody Rhodes would be like I think the ultimate, just because it's an FU to AEW from everybody involved. I mean, not that Cody's not that type of guy. Like we know Cody is like the epitome of professionalism. He is when he is the company guy. Like when he is in your company, he is all about you and nobody else. But he started that company, and I think it would be hard for him to kind of to fully go out there. But then again, on the other hand, Cody is he is who he is, and he's fantastic at it. And so I think, like, do you think it would be Cody, or do you think it would be somebody else in the company? Well, I know, and of course, Finn Balor made the comment that he would wrestle a broom if he was going to make money. So, do you have any other thoughts on who it could potentially be if it's not Kevin Owens?
Man, Cody's spicy too. There's like so many intertwining stories that you can tell on WWE television that gets AEW over at the exact same time. It's
Yeah,
like, what
really.
can you possibly say? Like, Cody can say, Punk, you try to kill my creation and you try to come back here and kill this creation. Not on my watch. Like, now playing the role of Hangman Page is Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, that's the thing. I was like, as much as like if you leave the personal stuff out of it, there's so much money to be made and that can be left on the table, even if it's a one off. But then does Punk is it a one off? I have a feeling that I don't know that Punk can do a one off. Like I think he once he gets his moment, he's gonna be like, I want to come back for SummerSlam. I want to come back. I'm gonna finish the story. I'm gonna dethrone Roman Reigns. I'm gonna like. I think that I don't know if CM Punk can just do a. I mean, maybe he gets his one off and he gets inducted into the. Maybe they're like, if you come wrestle, if you wrestle, do WrestleMania, we'll induct you into the Hall of Fame. I just. Yeah, or do they? I was like, I. On the one hand, I was like, will Vince allow this stuff? But Vince is a shrewd businessman, as we've all seen for decades. He will do whatever makes him the most money. And I think it would be hard for him to not, and I think he would see it as a shot. I think more than anything, more than the money, he would see it as this is a shot at AEW and this is a direct hit on them. I already took Cody from them. Now I will bring back this man that I can't stand, that I made leave my building. Maybe he leaves the building for this match.
I mean, it's possible. We've seen crazier things happen in WWE. And what would be crazy is that Vince, as wily as he is, he's not in the day-to-day as he used to be, but he's a shrewd, smart businessman. Mm-hmm. And to possibly bring back CM Punk to say, hey, guess what? We can facilitate peace. There'll be no fighting here because he's not gonna buck on me. He's not gonna buck on Nick Khan. He's not gonna buck on Triple H. He's not gonna buck on any of us.
Yeah,
that's not gonna happen.
We're and he ain't running to the dirt sheets neither.
No, there's gonna be none of that. We have that on lockdown. So for him to come back to an environment where really there's no one to fight legitimately, there's no one to get into a brawl with, because backstage now is it's a bit more mature, a bit more relaxed. Everybody's to themselves. It's all on him to try to make peace. And this is your shot now, your last opportunity really to make a lot of money and to prove to yourself that, you know what, I am not who they say I am, because the last couple of years we've seen a lot of stuff. And I
Right.
don't think he would want to end his career on that note of being a troublemaker,
Right.
of being a person that causes drama behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So this is your last shot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too. Like the more I think about it, like cuz like that was the whole reason he came back to AEW was like he wanted to finish his career on, on his terms, and before things got way out of hand, like he was really happy to be there. He wanted to work with all these younger guys, and he did. Like he worked with Darby, he worked with Hobbs, he was putting over Ricky Starks before all of this nonsense, and he was, he did the amazing series with MJF. There was a lot on the table for that had somebody behaved themselves for 6 months. Supposedly was what supposedly what he was supposed to do. And so, and then now you ruined it once again. And so yeah, I don't know that he just goes off quietly. I think he's pissed off. Probably more at himself, but he's never going to admit that he's pissed off at himself. And so I think he's going to try to go out on his own terms. Who knows if it blows up spectacularly again. I mean, we thought this one, I mean, AEW was a slam dunk for him, and he still found a way to self-sabotage himself, and then there's the possibility of Impact. Apparently there was at some point there was an Impact deal where the rumor was it was, I think, 4 matches, and they were going to pay him into the 7 figures was the rumor. And so, I mean, and Chris Bay, like the day after he got fired, Chris Bay was like, "I'll wrestle you," and posted a picture of CM Punk when he used to be in TNA and had long blonde hair. And I was like, I mean, somebody like Chris Bay, that would be like a huge match for him. And if CM Punk is serious about putting over like the young guys, then like Chris Bay is definitely one of the talents to do it with. And so I was like, and he went to in that same weekend, I think that same weekend or right around that time that he went to the WWE locker room, he went to the Impact locker room because he was there just hanging out, and there was like a picture of him with Jordan Grace, and apparently I think somebody said that like he was playing Uno with some of the talent. And I feel like I read something about him buying pizza or buying food or doing something for them. So it sounds like he's like making friends in the locker room. So if he screws up somewhere, maybe he'll be welcomed back with another company. So maybe he hits up Impact and takes his, if they are still offering that deal, and then maybe he'll head on over to WWE, or maybe he'll get his Mania moment, get inducted into the Hall of Fame, and then he'll go hit up Impact for four shows, and then ride off into the sunset. I don't know.
Listen, this guy is very sneaky. I give him credit. He was mingling in the right locker rooms, talk to the right people, mending the right fences. And look at this. If he does this, if he finesses this, he'll be inducted into 2 Hall of Fames, the WWE and Impact Hall of Fame for those 4 matches.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can't blame him. I mean, at least he's figuring out, he's working the system for himself. And like you said, he can maybe repair that image a little bit and be like, "See, I'm not a troublemaker. It's those other guys. I got along perfectly with these people in Impact. I got along with, they left me alone in WWE. They put me in solitary confinement by myself. Wouldn't let me out till it was time for my match."
Oh my God.
and then they got security and just tucked me right back in my room until it was time to go. Did not invite me to any scrums.
No fake press conferences sponsored by Mountain Dew Dark or Black, whatever it's called. Nothing sponsored by Snapple or the C4 drinks or Prime by Logan Paul. I'm away from all of that stuff. I did my job. I left accordingly. I left the building like Brock did, got on the jet and dipped.
Yes, that's what they're gonna have to do with him. Probably have him come in, fly in just long enough for your match, then have the private jet waiting and get you the hell out of there before you can cause any problems.
Yes. Run.
So definitely. So hello to Colin, and we have a special guest with us today. We have Keila Cash, who is here filling in for Mel. And Daza asks, he said he's been working all day if something happened to suggest that Punk may be WWE bound. Well, earlier this week, there was a report that came out saying that back in December, Punk was talking to people about potentially coming to Royal Rumble for 2023, and that he floated the idea of wanting to wrestle Kevin Owens. And so now we're wondering, could he be in Royal Rumble 2024 and make a Kevin Owens or Cody Rhodes or Finn Balor, maybe maybe Miz, since
Oh
they
no.
apparently cleared things up. Maybe
Oh
Miz
no.
will have a match with him.
Oh no. Jesus. Now the promos granted. The Miz might cut the promo of his life.
He'll dress up as CM Punk. He's gotta, or as AJ Lee,
Oh
and
my
have
God.
there we go. He can dress up as Punk and then have uh, have Maurice dress up as AJ Lee.
Oh my gosh. I would actually live for that with Maurice with the darker hair, with the short shorts
Yes, and have on her little chucks.
and skipping.
Yeah.
Come on.
Listen, Vince, we're giving you some ideas. Don't tell us that. Listen, I don't even watch your product that often anymore, but I will give you some products for this. Some ideas, rather. The John Cena one was so good. Yes, that one. Miz, when he is dialed in on that stuff, he's so good at it.
Listen, the Tota Bella spoof is forever legendary. I will
Yes.
always cackle when the Miz proposed to Maurice as Nikki Bella. I have the ring and it's DDP yoga, and I died. Like that was the ultimate troll and shade job.
Man, he was so good. Yeah, that was nothing. Nothing will top that. Even if he gets Maurice to dress up as AJ Lee, there's nothing that. I mean, it will be great, but nothing will top that moment. That might have been his finest moment in WWE history. That man's been there for 15 years and had some good runs, but I don't know that anything will top that moment. Or except maybe Angry Miz Girl, but
Yes.
that's his legacy. Oh man. So yeah, so there's possibility. I guess we'll just have to see. Like you said with wrestling, never say never. It's like that's what my sister and I were talking about the other day. I was like, it's just like saying you're retired. 99% of the time these wrestlers don't stay retired. So it's so saying he'll never go back to WWE is pretty much along those same lines, I think. Let's see. So we're gonna stick with WWE for a minute because I wanted to get Keila's thoughts on, because I did not get a chance to go back and watch Becky versus Trish, but I heard wonderful things about it. I heard people say it was a match of the year contender. I saw pictures afterwards. It looks like those two just went at it and had the match that they've been waiting to have. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on that. And also kind of because here a lot, we obviously talk about how women are presented in AEW. So I kind of want to get some of your thoughts on how your perspective of how the women are presented in WWE.
Yeah, so Becky versus Trish in a steel cage at Payback last Saturday. I thought that was a great match, a great finale to their feud. It was kind of off and on for me due to it being a little bit too long in terms of they're running out of time and they're running out of ideas. But what a closer. Trish Stratus is 47 years old, going out there and just working like she hasn't missed a beat. And she is not afraid to take a hit, take a bump, have a hematoma on her head, get bruised up, pose afterwards. Like she worked her behind off. Becky Lynch, I have to say, when it comes to feud closers, she's one of the best in WWE. Like if you want to
Absolutely.
end the match on a high note in a steel cage, Hell in a Cell, like come on. It was just an incredible match. Both ladies worked hard. I love the love letter to both Victoria and Lita from their steel cage match back in 03. When Trish hit the Widow's Peak, I almost cried like, Victoria, my girl, like y'all had wars back in the day. Y'all got me through the early 2000s.
Right, yeah. For sure.
But but it was really good. Zoe Stark got involved, of course, and she got the rub too with Trish when she turned to her at the end of this match. And of course, Trish, ever the giver, takes the Z360 and she just sells and she bumps and she's dead in the ring. And that gets Zoe over to a point as well. But it was a nice finale to a feud that was hit or miss here and there. But that last match, I think they redeemed themselves. They got the time to show how great they really are. Becky's exceptional. Trish, I've been riding with her since the year 2000, the
Uh-huh.
highs and lows, and she is still got
Yes.
it.
Yeah, it's incredible to think of what she does, especially because in wrestling, especially in well, at least in the bigger well, in WWE, it just a lot of women have a very short shelf life. They're lucky if they get 7 years. That's I think and that's on the higher end for a lot of women, and to see her still coming back doing this, 20 years later and at this level and doing the things that she's doing is incredible. And she's getting her flowers in a time where she man, because in those early days it was rough for her. And then and we saw some of the things that she had to endure being being a woman in the WWE, and then come back and then of course she had the incredible matches with Lita, like you said, and then to come back and have these matches, and like you said, it's been hit or miss, but when they're on, it sounds like. And I am really, really happy that both of them finally, because I know a lot of people were upset that they were not on SummerSlam. So, and then I think they got like what was it, the match on Raw a couple weeks later, and people were a little upset about that. So I'm glad that they finally got the match that they deserved and got to show out and show, like you said, show what they can do when they're given the time and the position.
And the crowd going crazy from the beginning. Like the crowd was just into the match. They had them from the very beginning and they just worked hard. They didn't miss a beat. I was just like in awe of both of them, especially Trish, just doing crazy stuff, taking insane bumps. I'm like, girl, calm down, but still do you. Hanging off that
Right.
cage.
Just
Like,
dial it
Trish,
back a little
don't
bit.
fall. Don't fall, girl. Please. Don't. But listen, the yoga has done wonders. She got it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So where do you kind of see this go now? So is Trish, now that the story's kind of over, do you see Trish taking some time off, maybe till, Royal Rumble season, Mania type stuff, or do you think they've got her lined up for some more stuff?
I think so. I think it's good to table her for right now until the Warrior Rumble, have her be an entrant in that match and possibly be a contender to win it and possibly have something else to do at WrestleMania next year. But I do want the last run for her to be the baby face run, because I think with the Becky twist of it all, it was about pay respect to me, I paved the way for you. And I think this will be the final finale for her to get her flowers, as you said, to really wrap up a career of her just doing a whole lot of stuff. And at the time, let's not forget, back then in the early 2000s, it was not about PR. It was not about like, oh,
Mhm.
we're doing this for women's wrestling. They just did it back in the day.
Yeah,
It just
right.
happened organically.
Right, right. That's very true. Yeah, for sure. And so, what is your take on how the women are presented in WWE? I know that there are some, I don't watch it regularly, but I hear things like, I know that there was the We Want Equality hashtag that was going around a few months ago. And then of course at SummerSlam, there are potentially could have been 4 women's matches and they got 2 of them. And then Triple H was like, gave his very Triple H answer about, and all these matches were never announced, so I don't know why people are mad. And then they and then I know that there's some weeks that, like, I think there's some SmackDowns where there's like no women's matches whatsoever, or they're still getting like 3-minute matches here and things like that. So I just kind of wanted to get your take on that.
It's definitely a hodgepodge of ups and downs. I think that NXT actually does the best job in showcasing their women's division. Like you can get 4 or 5 matches in a week involving the ladies, and yes, they're green, but you do see the potential, and they tell
Right.
stories, and they
Mhm.
have character development that I like. Some characters are hit and miss for me, but I like
Yeah.
that it's character driven and that there's a purpose for the match to be on the show, and you're telling a story. On the main roster, it's a bit more mixed for me. You have Rhea Ripley, a dominant champion who I love, but the challengers are limited right now. And they've been trying to build up to Rhea versus Becky for a while. It needs to happen very soon. And then on SmackDown, Io Sky is the champion, who I love, but also limited challengers right now. Asuka's in contention, but to me, the sore spot will always be the tag team division for the women. There are
Oh
no
boy.
tag
Yep.
teams. The belts are
Mm-mm.
cursed. People get injured all the time. I'm like, either you retire these belts, ice them until you find a division of teams that can
Yeah.
compete for these titles, because it irritates me. It just gnaws at me that
Yeah.
you can actually assemble a good tag team division, but you actually have to put in the effort to care. And that
Right.
bothers me more so than
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah, I was gonna say I did see where it was I know that Chelsea has the titles, and then and now it's is she going back by Piper Niven now, or she
Yes.
yes, and that's what I thought. And how there's a video of her, and apparently, like, she cleansed the belts and she saged them and put them on crystals. And I was like, she gets it. She understands that these things are cursed, and she's gonna make the best of it while she can. And so I appreciated that for her. But man, those titles. Yeah, I'm there with you. Like, either put the effort in or ice them until, because I'm like, you constantly, from what I read, I was like, you constantly prove Mercedes and Trinity right,
Mhm.
like all the time.
Every week, like they're not wrong. Like I would have threw the belts down too and said, I'm out of here because you don't care about this division and you've proven them right for the last year or so.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and so and Vinkin said that he's not a fan of the 5-minute matches, and then look at how Sean books NXT. I'm like, WTF is Triple H doing? Yeah, that's a yeah, it seems like I always hear really positive things about NXT, and like you said, even if they are, those women are green, they are, they're working. That's how you, I mean, you've got to give them TV time. That's how they get better. You have to invest in them. You have to give them characters. You have to give them storylines. And that's what NXT is doing. And, as some people say, that's kind of where AEW is hurt, because they don't, now we don't down, there's no dark or elevation for some of these characters to kind of get fleshed out. And not every person who's on there is gonna turn into the Acclaimed, and and things like that. And where they worked, that's where they were at. And when you even see like people like Kylan King was working down there a lot, now she's over in Impact and she's killing it over there. She was a tag team champion for a little bit. And so it does help to have these places. And so these, of course, yeah, I mean, it's, you don't want the fans to like turn on them because they're green and they're struggling, but I mean, you have to put them out there. You gotta do something. They gotta learn somehow. And so it seems like NXT is really invested in trying to do that with the women, which, especially because NXT has such a great history for women's wrestling. Because they had, obviously, with the Four Horsewomen, and they had, and Alexa Bliss and things like that. They were a hotbed for women's wrestling for a good chunk of time, and so they've always kind of been at the forefront of like producing these newer female stars, which is incredible. And so, and then it seems like it just does not translate once they get to the main roster.
It's like very mixed results. I will champion Bianca Belair being a success story from that
Right.
transition from NXT to the main roster. Rhea, it took a while for Rhea, but
Mhm.
she's like where she is right now. But
Yeah.
it's like I just want consistency on the main
Yes.
roster. That's all that
Sure.
matters. Just give me that and we're good to go. But NXT, as you said, it's so good for the ladies. I just love to see the growth. And Tiffany Stratton is a prime example of that, who was
Yeah.
super green in the beginning,
Uh-huh.
but she's getting better fast.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. A lot of people really are on board with her. And that's what they were saying there. Like, even when she was like in the early days, they were like, we see something in her. Like, you can tell that it's there. She just needs the investment. She needs to, and it seems like it's paying off, and it's paying off well. And so that's what happens when you don't treat the women like they're a checklist and you invest into them. And so, yeah, I definitely see that. And yeah, Lauren, we are going to get to some of that stuff with AEW. And that'll actually be a really great transition, because Lauren said this week AEW gave us 2 sub 5-minute matches for the TBS title. This does not need to become a trend. Yes. And on top of that, we also had Kevin Kelly make a nice little comment about people who time matches. I missed it when he said it, because I didn't have the TV up very loud. It was raining, and Miley wanted to go out, and so we were like trying to. And then I'm like, I got to get my stopwatch ready. So it's like, so I missed it, and then Mike and JD, who of course used to have a show over here, they both tagged me, and they were like, Kevin Kelly's talking shit, and I was like, so I went back and watched it, and he said, where's the quote? I've got it. He said, "I'm not sitting." Said something about how I'm not sitting there with the stopwatch, but regardless, as Chris is walking down.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Then he like later in the match, he mentioned it again. He said, I never sat there with a stopwatch, but this was kind of in reference to Adam Cole and how quickly he got to the ring or something. So that was not, I guess, technically a shot, but that is so, we've had Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez made some shots about that a couple of weeks ago. And so now we have Kevin Kelly on TV taking shots. And as I keep saying, I wouldn't have to time the matches if you would stop doing that.
Okay, let's be perfectly clear.
Yeah.
That's why we do it, because look at the time you give.
Right, exactly. And so, and Nikki says these men are dusty.
Dusty, dusty, dusty.
Yeah, just man, I was like, some these men get so mad at some stopwatches and putting putting facts in front of their faces. It's like I was telling my sister, I was like, this is like the people who get mad at Dark Side of the Ring, like, I'm not going to be on it anymore. Well, what did you think they were going to talk about? Like, that's literally, yeah. Well, if you feel like you look bad in these episodes, then maybe you shouldn't have done what you did, or maybe you should have handled it better. But just be accountable for how you did your stuff. And so I was like, these men keep complaining, but then they prove our point when they give. So we had a match on. So we finally get Emi Sakura on TV on Wednesday. I was so excited. People are tagging me. They're like, look, Emi's going to be on. She's got a title match on TV. And I was like, yes. I mean, of course, I didn't think she was going to win. I'm not that naive, but I was like, she's going to go show out and she's going to prove me right about that article I wrote about why she should have been at Wembley. Gave her less than 4.5 minutes. 4 of those minutes, she was wrecking Chris Statlander.
Mhm.
But the champ came through as she's supposed to do. So I was like, but I was just like, why? And and even like I was listening to the Dynamite show, and they were like, this match needed like 12 minutes. They were like, they could have let Emi just do what she was doing, then have Chris have her come back and just get the fans into it. And they're just like, it's just a lot of missed opportunities. And then last night we see Chris came out last night and she wrestled Robin Renegade, which I don't have an issue with. I saw some complaints about that's who she wrestled. Well, the Renegades are signed to ROH. They have been down there. They're actually in the middle of a little bit of a feud with Athena and Billy Starks. And so I don't have a problem with them. It kind of reminds me of like when Cody had the open challenge and was wrestling people from the independents. So kind of what we saw there last night. And the Renegades have been putting in their time for a while. They were YouTube girls. They were on Dark and Elevation paying their dues, and they are still paying their dues. And so I didn't have an issue with that being the opponent, but I did have an issue with with another 4.5 minute match for Chris. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then we get the return of Jade, which was phenomenal. I'm so happy to see her back. I had a feeling she was gearing up for it because she's been a little talkative lately, talking about how the women are going to kill it. She's been putting over Ricky Starks and all this stuff. So I was like, sounds like Jade's return is imminent. I thought maybe GrandSlam, but now I think I know what they're doing. But so we have Jade come through. She wrecks the Renegades as she should, and then people are like, well, is she going to be a baby face? She going to help Chris? And then she power pops Chris in the middle of the ring. She didn't forget what happened at Revolution when she lost her or was it Double or Nothing, where she lost her title in like 30 seconds. And so yeah, and Mark Sterling is there, which seems to indicate that she definitely is a heel, because baby faces don't need smart Mark Sterling. So I'm glad to see Jade back, but now it's just gonna they've just not handled Chris's title run very well. They kind of, it seems like they weren't handling the end of Jade's title reign very well, and then it just kind of carried over into Statlander's title reign. And I don't think that I don't think that Jade wins it on her next title challenge, just because I was like, they waited so long to put that title on Chris that I don't see them having her draw. Because I think last night she, I think it was a 104-day title reign, and so I mean, I don't expect her to have, I don't expect her to break Jade's record, but I'm assuming this is setting up for a match at Grand Slam. Maybe they have a proper match and Chris defeats her, and maybe they get 7 minutes.
Oh God. No. 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 Don't do it, Sam, please. Don't get that out there.
Listen, I know what I would like, but I've seen this play out a time or two. So what do you make of Jade being back?
I was very happy to see Jade last night. Looked amazing. She was just whooping ass to the Renegade Twins.
That
Sorry,
pop.
girls. The
Yeah.
pop was great. Looked like a star as always. Just amazing. And then I'm thinking to myself, okay, the crowd is rocking with Jade. I can dig a baby face turn for Jade Cargill. She'll be over. And then she picks up poor Chris for the Jaded. And all of my hopes and dreams were dashed. And then, as you said, Mark Sterling comes by, the worst lawyer in all of AEW comes through, tries to pull his weight around. Don't care about him like that. But yeah, Jay's a heel. I can sense Grand Slam, a proper match with more time. Let's give them 14 minutes. Can we do that?
Yeah,
at Grand Slam?
Man, please, Tony, if you're somehow listening to this, just give us what we want.
we don't ask for much. Just give us equal time.
Listen, I will, and let Kevin Kelly see that time. Let him send him my tweet. I'm gonna at him. I'm gonna be like, look, they got 14 minutes. Next week they'll get 3. But
let me be shadier. Ian Riccaboni, when can you come back to Collision?
Yeah, I know that's right. People were calling for him last night. I saw on the reply, and this was, I don't think that comment had anything to do with it, but he was, because I guess he contradicted something Nigel had just said about, in the main event about, I think Nigel said that Tony said they'll stay with him as long as they needed, and then then Kevin turned around and said but then Kevin contradicted him and was like, basically, it's a 20-minute time. Like he was like, they were like, is he not listening? And then I guess he messed up a few other times, and I saw people and they were like, can we get Ian back?
Listen, I got used to Ian that whole month when Kevin was gone for the G1. Like, I love his voice. He reminds me a lot of JR in his prime. So, like, no offense to Kevin, but we can bring back Ian full time for Collision. That's all I ask.
Please. I was like, I know he's busy he's just got elected to the school board and he's coaching his kids' soccer team and all that stuff. And I get it, but man, we got spoiled that month that we had him. And I was like, because I already loved him with Caprice. I love him in ROH. And so I was like, now everybody sees what I see. And then him and Nigel finally started clicking. Nigel quit with his little WWE stuff that he learned. He forgot it a little bit and settled into his role and settled in. And then they're like, here's Kevin Kelly. And Kevin Kelly and got him. Him and Chris Charlton, they have a good thing going, but it just seems like and I'm trying to give him some grace, let him understand a little bit. But yeah, it's a little rough. So we'll go over here to the comments, and we got yes, TK does book for ratings, and I don't blame him. And you got to sell tickets to Grand Slam. We heard that a couple times. I think the Acclaimed mentioned it, and Eddie Kingston mentioned it in a promo. So clearly, you need to sell some tickets. Dawson said, I'll be really unhappy if Chris is just rolled over by Jade. We have some conflicting opinions on Chris. Somebody says that Chris has a boring personality. They prefer Jade. She needs, I guess this is Jade needs the women's title, not the TBS. I would not hate seeing Jade with the women's title. She already looked amazing as it was, and then I saw somebody last night and they were like, how did Jade come back even hotter than she was before? Like, how was that even possible? Well, that is a fair question. Can Jade last 14 minutes? Her stamina in the ring hasn't really been tested yet. Well, she has had some time off, so maybe that, and her and Brandon Phillips have been traveling. They went to Egypt and a couple other countries, and she looks well rested. So maybe she built up her stamina in that time. But I will take 10. I just want to get into the double digits. just That's what I like. Um it said, so Paladin says my comment it was in reference to the short amount of time women get in the ring. AW fans don't demand it. Some of us do. Britt Baker has said on Twitter that the women need support from the fans. There is support from the fans. I'm sure she and a lot of women get a ton of really negative comments all the time, and it's hard to see past those. But there's plenty of support from fans who want longer women's matches. We at Power Bombshells are huge advocates for that. I think, but pretty much everybody on the Fight Game Media Network are, and I know we're just one of many voices out there, but there is support out there. I see people on Twitter all the time talking about it. And again, I'm sure that these women get a ton of hate, and that's probably what fills their mentions more than anything. But there's definitely support out there. And so they got to quit putting that on the fans. That's a booking decision. Why do I figure that TK doesn't give them more time? I think it's a couple of things. I think that he doesn't know how to invest in women's wrestling, and I think he listens to his advertisers, and I think he listens to Warner Brothers. And if Warner Brothers are going by ratings only, then I think Warner Brothers are the ones who are kind of behind that, because I've seen him book longer matches in ROH, and I've seen him book 7 women matches in one night because he's done it. I've seen him book 4 and 5 matches on ROH, and on ROH he doesn't have to answer to anybody. So I think there's a lot of things going on there, but that's a business choice. He could invest. He treats the women like a checklist. So, and that's all there is to it, I would say. Let's see. So we're going to stick with the women, because while we're talking about Grand Slam, we have a couple different things happening. So obviously Grand Slam, they always do both champions, both of the world champions will have titles on the line. We'll have MJF will be defending his title against whoever wins a tournament. And then Saraya will defend her title against whoever wins one single match containing 4 women. It's Britt Baker versus Sheeta versus Nyla versus Tony. And so they get it's basically they just get a one-off match, and that's how she gets one. She does it. They don't book a whole tournament for women to find these contestants, these competitors. So what's your take on these? I saw this on Twitter, and now I use it quite often. Refer to him now as Tournament Tony. Because he likes his tournaments in ROH. He did 2 tournaments in a row to find an opponent for Samoa Joe. He did it at Death Before Dishonor, and then he did it again for All Out. And now Samoa Joe is competing in a tournament instead of them doing a tournament for him. But yeah, and I think this is what they've been doing. I feel like the last couple of Grand Slams were tournament to determine a men's challenger.
Yes.
If I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is his thing, which I guess he could fall. I'm sure if somebody called it on him, he'd be like, well, that's what we do for Grand Slam. Just like at All In, the original All In, we had a whole women's match. So this year's All In got a whole women's match. But I put 4 in there. So, and Ruby Soho got to run in. So we had 5 women on the show. So do you have any comments that you would like to make about the men getting a whole tournament versus the women getting a single match?
It's like we had a 4-way at All In Wembley just 2 weeks ago. Let's do another one now to pick Saraya's opponent for Grand Slam. It's very lazy booking in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. I've seen most of these people in that very match 2 weeks ago. Going to run it back without Saraya this time around. Nyla Rose is added, former champion. I love that. Mm-hmm. But just give us a bit more originality. There's been a lot of tournaments this year. One tournament for the ladies with the Owen Hart Cup tournament, which I enjoyed.
Yeah.
So for me, I would love to see a tournament for the ladies that you can stretch across 3 shows now and have a proper opponent for Saraya at Grand Slam. That's all that I want. I just want a bit more creativity when it comes to putting these matches together, because we just saw this 2 weeks ago. Don't give me
Right.
another fatal 4-way. I saw it already. I saw
Yep.
3 of the people in the match fighting for the championship.
Right.
So if that's the case, do a tournament. Do like a
Yeah.
mini tournament.
Yeah. You've got the women. We know, I mean, it's a small women's division, but you've got the women. You can put in the bunny, you can put in Penelope, you can put in, Abaddon's doing who knows what. I believe Abaddon's been doing some indie stuff. I've seen them post some pictures, and it looks like they've been killing it doing some of that stuff. So there's Anna Jay. There's Emmy, of course.
Mhm.
There's women that you can put in there, and this is how you get them TV time. This is how you help them not be green. This is how you get them, on TV. And so I've like appreciated, again, like, as much, I do try to highlight some of the positive things that the women, that they do. It's not all doom and gloom. I don't trust it. Anytime they start to build things up, because I know how it goes generally. But they had some good stuff going with. Well, it seemed to be they had some stuff going with Chris and Willow and Diamante and Mercedes, and then they went with Ruby versus Chris at All Out, which I kind of understand that story of Chris. I mean, Ruby debuted in Chicago. She was the one who originally lost. Jade beat her to become the inaugural champion. So I get that. And I think Chris had never beaten Ruby before. So I get that story. But then, so I thought maybe they'd go back to it. But then, last night they had to wrestle one of the Renegade sisters. And so it was like, well, where is. And then I believe that I saw that Willow had a match on ROH, which I love. The more Willow I can get. And obviously in ROH, I get the Caprice and Ian rap for Willow, so I'm never going to be mad at that. But does it seem like it's a lot of start and stop, which is what they do with that women's division. In both of them, there's a lot of start and stop, and they'll seem like they're finally getting stuff together, and then you're like, oh no, we're making too much sense. Gotta go back to the same formula that we have, where it's the same women over and over again until people are sick of them. And so it's really frustrating. And then it seems like, so I guess once we get past this, for Grand Slam, they seem to potentially be setting up something with Emmy and Saraya, because there was some stuff happening on Twitter a few days ago. Emmy posted a video of herself reacting to Saraya coming out to Queen, and she started to cry because that was her dream and Saraya got it. And she didn't get to be on the show. She didn't get her Queen entrance. That's the one thing she wanted. And so she said never again. So clearly she's on a mission to prove, that she should be there, and that she should work, because not that she should just be on the card because she's asking. Like, she wants to work, she wants to be on TV, she doesn't want to be in catering all the time. And so then Saraya responded, and she posted a picture, and she's flipping Emmy off and telling her that she's not good enough and she'll never be her and she'll never get this moment and she's a loser. And so two of them have been going back and forth most of the night. Emmy called her I think she called her a thumb sucking baby. So they're just sort of seemed like they were building something. And then I think, unless I just haven't seen them, it seems like the tweets kind of stopped. So I was like, I don't think that they were like, I don't think they were like shooting on each other. Like, I think they were building something. Maybe they were like, hold on, wait till after Full Gear to start to start doing this. Saraya's got to focus on whoever wins this 4-way match. Then you can start up again. So I was like, maybe they're gonna do something for. Maybe they'll do Full Gear. Maybe they'll give Emmy a pay-per-view match. I'm trying not to get my hopes up, but I'm also trying to will it into existence, manifest that for me and for Emmy. So what do you think about a potential storyline with Saraya and Emmy?
I'm into it. I love Emmy Sakura. Anytime she's on my TV screen, I'm very happy about it, because she's one of the roughest, toughest women wrestlers on the planet. and just give her time to cook, and she just delivers every single time. I do fear for Saraya because those chops are going to just absolutely murk her. So I'm going to pray for her immediately. But I do like the prospect of them building up to something, maybe on TV. Maybe they want to do something on Wednesday's Dynamite if they don't want to wait into Full Gear. Maybe the next pay-per-view for AEW in October. Whew, the
Right.
back-to-backs is a lot. So it's possible there
It
as
is.
well.
Yeah,
So
I gotta quit overlooking Wrestle Dream.
it's listen, I'm I'm only here for Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, I am so excited about that match. And yeah, Wrestle Dream. I did. We talked about last week. So I did ask Tony on the media call. I asked him if women were going to be involved in Wrestle Dream. I was like, they have an IWGP Women's Championship. I know that title's in Stardom right now, but they do have that title, and they have the Strong title that Julia now holds. And so I wanted to see. I don't know if that's something that Antonio Inoki necessarily would have wanted. It was women wrestling in New Japan, but that's what's happening now. And so, but of course, as soon as I asked it, he went straight to Mercedes, which I kind of figured he would. He said, he was talking about Mercedes and how they'd love to have her. They don't know if she's going to be cleared yet. And I can't tell if they really don't know when she's going to be cleared or if he's trying to swerve everybody so that when she does show up, we won't figure it out beforehand. I was like, but she was in the boot at All In. So she definitely, and nobody knows for sure what type of surgery she had and where she's at with her injury. How is she even close to, can she do any type of training at all? Is she still like she gotta have to work off some of the ring rust first? Is Wrestle Dreaming? Because that's only 3 weeks away. So I don't know that she's gonna be ready for that. But so maybe they do Saraya and Emmy at Wrestle Dream. I'm hoping they put Willow on Wrestle Dream. She's gotten, the New Japan fans seem to love her. So it'd be great to see Willow do something, even if it's not necessarily a title match. I mean, I hope we get Julia. That would be really awesome to have her there. And I know they want to do Julia versus Mercedes, but yeah. I'm definitely here for Brian Danielson and ZSJ, and that would sell tickets. I think that's going to sell a lot of tickets. I'm glad they went ahead and announced that real quick. And because what do you make of the comment from Danielson that this might potentially be his last year wrestling? Or I guess wrestling full time, I should say.
I think he's teased this. This is about to be year 3 in AEW next year. And he was like, well, this could be the last full time run for him. I'm not surprised. His daughter and son are getting older now. And you want to be at home a bit more full time. I think the Saturday schedule works a bit better for him to be at home during the week and not travel 2 or 3 days out of the week and then miss, your kids going to school and spending time with them as well. So I feel as if the grind is going to slow down a bit. He'll be a part-time player mostly and be a part of the big shows, but he has given so much in this last run after being cleared about 5 years ago now. And I just think he wants to slow down the pace a bit, be more of a family man, be at home with his kids, be there for them. I totally respect that. He has given way more than we could possibly ever want. And it's been a
Yeah.
blessing to see him work at such a high level the last 5 or so years, especially his last run in AEW since 2021.
Right. Yeah. God, it really has been almost 5 years now. The time has flown by. Like, it doesn't even seem like that. And then, yeah, and I get, like, because somebody posted the comment where Brian Danielson said in a Fightful interview that he loves to lie and Cody Rhodes taught him how to lie.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so he could be, but he's talked about, on and off for a while that he promised Birdie that like he would retire when she was 7 or he'd be around more when she turned 7 and she's 6 now. So maybe it is a storyline thing. I could see, especially, he broke his arm. I mean, obviously that's a kind of a freak accident, breaking his arm in the match, but he is like, I do think he's clearly he's on the other side of his career. I don't know that he's going to be like some of these guys in New Japan who wrestle until they're 50. Maybe he will be if he's wrestling like for the 4 big shows a year. maybe, or maybe he does the Wrestle Dream, because that seems like something he'd be doing. I'd really, if this is gonna be like his last full time year, I'd really like him to see him do the G1 next year. I
Mhm.
know that he's wanted to do that. I'd love to see him get in with some of these New Japan guys, like Shingo Takagi and you know Goto and just some of these Ishii. I'd love to see him mix it up with some of these guys there. I'm so glad we're getting this match. I thought that Zack Sabre Jr. I thought they were going to save it for Wrestle Kingdom, but clearly this was before we knew that Wrestle Dream existed. And I think this is the perfect match for Wrestle Dream. And I heard the comments today from Zack Sabre Jr. He was like, finally, it's about time. I surpassed you years ago, dickhead. It's like I'm glad we're getting some of the promos out of it leading up to it because Zach is a fun promo. But is there anybody you would like to see Daniel wrestle if this is it for him? Like, is there somebody you think that he should wrestle before he dials it back a little bit?
Oh man. Let's see. Will this be just for the AEW roster?
However, wherever.
Let's think about this. I would love to see Danielson and Samoa Joe.
Man, yeah.
I
Yeah,
want to see it.
I think we have to get that in there. That would be and they could that is a huge AEW pay-per-view match, but God, that would be a really big ROH got they only have 3 pay-per-views. They've got Death Before Dishonor, I mean Super Card of Honor, Death Before Dishonor, and Final Battle. So but I think that Tony would save that for an AEW pay-per-view. But man, yeah, that would be a really good one.
Yeah, I want to see them run it back one more time. I want to see Danielson and Tateshka
Ooh,
again
yeah.
with Tateshka as a bigger baby face than he was coming
Yeah.
in a year or so ago. Maybe Omega one more time for the road as well. Just give me a bunch of run it back matches
Yeah.
that were already good, but they can be greater now a year or two removed.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, I like that. I like that idea a lot. I really like that. Yeah, I just want to see him. What would be cool if they could do it if Adam Copeland shows up in AEW, which I think he will. I think he wants to do one last run with Christian. I think they'll do like a final. I mean, even if he just does a 1 year deal just to get, I think he'll do one more run with Christian. I think they'll do a final Hardy Boys match. I think they'll do the Young Bucks too, because that's a match that's never happened before. The Young Bucks and Edge and Christian. Well, I guess he wouldn't be Edge, but it's the same because Adam Copeland and Christian. But wouldn't it be something to see Edge versus Danielson, two guys whose careers nearly ended because of neck problems, and they were both able to come back and be successful, and to have them face each other, I think would be a really cool thing to see. Just because it's add Shibata to that match. Shibata was never supposed
Yes.
to wrestle again either. Get have a 3-way with them or something like that. Like it's a testament to their hard work and to the doctors and how things have progressed in the medical field, to see that these two men who were supposed to never wrestle again come back and do it at a high level, is an incredible thing to see.
Yeah, I think about when Brian came back in 2018 and he was like, I'm not giving up. He didn't give up. And through the power of modern medicine, he was able to make a great comeback. And Adam
Right.
Copeland, Edge as well, debilitating neck injury, was able to
Yeah.
come back. I mean, like his story of his return in 2020 still gets me every time I see him come back. So to see those two guys have a singles match in AEW, if it comes to pass, guys that defy the odds and they can
Yeah.
just go off in the ring. And I know that Edge has got one more like really great singles run in him,
Uh-huh.
and Danielson never misses. We had like teases of that heading into their
Yeah.
match against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania a couple of years ago, but I
Mhm.
still want the full-fledged match.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be phenomenal. Yeah, it's incredible to think about, like, that this could potentially, yeah, just seeing the both of them and just knowing that this both next year could be the last we see of both of them in the ring is something that it just seems on the one hand like it's like because they work so hard to get back, but like you said, I mean it's been 5 years since Danielson came back. Edge has been back for for several years now too, and like they can't keep going forever. And it's we were lucky to have them as long as we have, and to have them healthy for the most part. Of course there's been injuries here and there, but that would be, man, that would be something. me go over here to the comments real quick. Yeah, Tony is think there's been talk about them going to 12 pay-per-views a year, and I think that's a Warner Brothers thing. I think Warner Brothers is pushing
Mhm.
them, and if especially if it's there's rumors that Max is now is ready, just magically ready 2 weeks after All In.
We're
They're
ready for live
magically
sports.
yeah, they're ready for live sports all of a sudden. They can handle it. And so that might be another reason they're kind of pushing it, like where they're easing it in with Wrestle Dream. And then, maybe Winter is Coming becomes maybe it becomes a pay-per-view versus being a Dynamite and things like that. But I do think Warner Brothers is the one. They're like, WWE doesn't like Impact does. It seems like Impact does a pay-per-view every 2 weeks. They're like, they can do it. So yeah, I can see them pushing that. And then you've got the 3 ROH pay-per-views that you could include in there. That's a fair question. This is why all these wrestlers like Joe Danielson, Sting, and Saraya, they don't get cleared to work in WWE, but can in AEW. Are they just willing to take the risk where WWE want? I mean, I think that's certainly possible. Like in Saraya's case, Saraya went to when she signed with AEW, she was not cleared. They were going to do on-screen stuff for her. She was not going to be in the ring, and she went to from what she says, like one of the best doctors. He works with people who are like stunt actors and things like that. So he works like he's very familiar clearly with neck injuries and things like that. And he showed her, I mean, he should, I guess, looked at all he made her go get scans. He made her get new x-rays. He made her do like all types of testing, and he cleared her and has told her like because she asked him like, what's the probability that I get that I get paralyzed in the ring, and he said none. So it seems like she just had the time where she healed, because she wasn't in the ring for 5 years, and Bryan Danielson wasn't in the ring for a long time. Adam Copeland was not in the ring for a long time. So it sounds like maybe some of these injuries healed a little better. And there have been rumors that Adam Copeland told Vince McMahon he was talking to AEW, and Vince was like, let us look at your neck, and cleared him. So maybe maybe his neck was ready to go, or maybe they're like, you're not going to AEW. So who knows what's going on. And Vinkin mentions that AEW might have had a the Japanese policy that if they have minor injuries, they might still have matches. Well, and that kind of goes with the Shibata. I think New Japan won't allow Shibata to wrestle, but AEW will. So he is no longer affiliated with the LA Dojo. He did do a meet and greet with New Japan, so he hasn't completely severed ties with them, but Tony will let him wrestle in ROH, and he wrestles very infrequently. He wrestles like a couple times a month. Like they'll do the taping, so like he'll wrestle a taping or two, and he did the pay-per-view, and then he did an ROH taping so he was in a match last week. So it seems like they're very careful, and I think Shibata also probably has a say in who he's going to get in the ring with. He's not going to just wrestle anybody. He's going to wrestle somebody that he feels will protect him in the ring, and he's largely done that, I think, for the most part. So I think that that probably has a lot to do with it. And also, I want to circle back to a comment real quick, where they did mention, I forgot, yes, there is a really big Stardom show the day before Wrestle Dream, and so that's going to also affect the availability of women who are available, from if anybody from Stardom is available. And I believe New Japan also has a pay-per-view around that same time, which will affect the availability of some of the people from New Japan that can come over for Wrestle Dream. But it is the 1-year anniversary of Antonio Inoki's passing, so he was obviously dead set on having it on October the 1st, and so he's just going to take whoever he can. But I'm sure maybe next year, maybe he can have a little bit more leeway on who's available. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And so, yeah, maybe the women, maybe it'll just be AEW women that get involved in that show. But yeah, so I think we kind of blew through this. Like I said at the beginning of the show, we had a pretty calm week as far as wrestling news goes. Nothing got a little too crazy. So for once we got a little bit of a breather. We didn't have to add in craziness in between, which was nice. So I guess we will start wrapping it up. And so thank you for everybody who was watching today. And thank you for the amazing Keila, who did a wonderful job and killed it today. I know that Mel will be very proud of you. So tell the people where they can find you.
Yes, thank you for having me, Mel. Your seat is safe for you next week. You can come back and kill it as always. Thank you for having me. You can find me on social media at Later Wrestling X on Twitter. You can find me talking about all things WWE, some AEW, some General Hospital for all of my GH fans out there, because Sam is a GH
Yes.
lifer as well. So
Yes.
wrestling and soaps come together. It is a very common theme. Trust and believe.
Yes, it is. Yes. And so definitely make sure, as we said before, to make sure that you subscribe to the Patreon, which you can see right there. It's patreon.com / Fight Game Media. There's a couple different tiers. There's a $5 tier, $10 tier. You can do the year option, I believe. If you do the year option, there's some Fight Game Media merch that will be coming at some point. Mel and I are talking about doing some merch, and last night, Mike Gilbert was kind enough to create a little timekeeper uh, logo for me, because he was like, "You need to strike while the iron's hot." These people, these men are talking about the time, the stopwatch, and so he was like, "Make money while you can." So maybe we'll push something out real quick. But in the meantime, definitely make sure you subscribe to the Patreon. You can hear the wrap. You can hear all kinds of incredible shows we don't cover. There's WWE, there's AEW, there's New Japan, there's Stardom, there's MMA, there's all kinds of stuff, really good content that's out there. And then, of course, if you are watching us on YouTube versus listening to us on audio, please make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because you can see clips. A really good thing about that is you can listen to clips from the shows that are on the Patreon before you decide to sign up. You can get a little taste of what everybody does by checking out some of the clips here. Obviously, we're live every Sunday at 1 p.m. We've got Speaking of Strong Style is live on Thursdays. There's all kinds of great content, and I know it's cliche, but liking, subscribing, and commenting definitely help. Algorithm is real, and we definitely will take that type of support. Daza said, he said, Keila, your voice reminds him of the radio hosts in The Warriors. And somebody said that is an awesome movie.
That is very high praise. Thank you, Daza. I'm going to give you like a virtual hug right now. Thank you so much.
Yes, and thanks everybody for hanging out with us again. Thank you to Keila. We will definitely have her back, and make sure that you are following her and go check out her. She does her stuff. She's doing some incredible work, and we will see you next week. Mel will be back. I believe we have a special guest next week as well. Just stay tuned to our Twitter at Powerbombshells, because I'm sure we will make an announcement there, and we will see you next week.